So, welcome everybody to the 15th class of this Bhagavad Gita study series. Today, we will finish the last few shlokas in the third chapter and we will revise the third chapter. I hope you had a chance to look at the points to ponder talk because that will make everything very clear when you revise things. As usual, we would like to acknowledge Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati, whose discourses we are following for the traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samadvampam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage, starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara in the middle and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati. Okay, with this, we will go. Okay, so we are in the last portion of the third chapter, and Arjuna asks a question: what impels a person to commit sin, even though the person doesn't want to do any sin? Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya bhaladiva niyojitaha. Arjuna said, by what is a person impelled to commit sin? Oh, Varshneya. Varshneya refers to Krishna because it belongs to the Vrishni clan, as though pushed by some strong force, even though not desiring to do so. And for this, Krishna replies, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahachano Mahapapma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. Bhagavan said, this lust, this anger, which are born out of the Rajoguna, passion, it is insatiable, it is a glutton, and it's very sinful. Know this to be the enemy here in this life. So, and then this lust and anger, it's repeated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. We saw that yesterday in the last class. And I will come to, we will have in the context of anger. So in the Mahabharata, you'll see when these people get angry, they give curse. And for a curse to be effective, one should have done a lot of tapas, austerities to gain that power. So not all curses would be effective, but in this chapter, there are many people who give curse. So one curse. It's like a chapter of curses. Ch3 Parva in the Mahabharata. Ch3 is women, right? So it is a chapter in which the women wail because all the men have been killed in the war. Everybody is wiped out. So they're all sad and they're crying. So that is the Ch3 Parva. And this is when people become very angry at why the war happened. So we will cover a few shlokas and we'll come to that. Then Bhagavan says, Thumena priyate bantnihi yata darsho malena cha yatholbhena vruto garbha tata tenedam avrutam. As a fire is covered by smoke and a mirror by dust, as the fetus is covered by the womb, so too this knowledge is covered by that kama or the lust. So he says, tata tena idam avritam. So what are all covered? Dhumena iva vagni. Dhuma is smoke. Vagni is fire. As fire is covered by smoke. Adarsha is mirror, covered by mala, is dirt. Mirror covered by dirt. Ulbena avruto garbaha. So fetus ulba is covered by the womb. Tata tenedam avritam. So tata tena idam avritam. Tata means thus. Tena means by that. Idam means this. Avritam means covered. Thus, by that, this is covered. So what is that and what is this? That refers to lust. This refers to knowledge. So this lust, this passion, it's covering the knowledge. And our discrimination is what Bhagavan says. This is explained in the next shlokas. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nitya vairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. We studied until this one, last class. And here Bhagavan says the knowledge is covered by this, O Kaunteya, in the form of lust, like an insatiable fire, the constant enemy of the wise. Okay, so then Bhagavan says, Indriyani mano buddhihi asyadhishtanam uchyate etair vimoha yatyesha jnanam avritya dehinam. Indriyani is the senses, mano is the mind. So we'll come to the four parts of the mind. So manas is one part of the mind, which is where the feelings reside. Then the intellect, the buddhi, these are the base for the lust. If you don't take care of this, you don't keep these things clean, then it can get carried away and lust forms there. With these senses, mind, the manas, intellect, etc., it deludes this person by covering the knowledge of the embodied Atma. So instead of then focusing inward, person is just pushed out in the world and gets attracted by left, right, center by things. So message is chitta shuddhi, keep the senses, manas, and the intellect clean. So adhishtanam here means the basis or the support. So asya adhishtanam uchyate. So its basis, the basis of this lust is these three things. These are where the lust develops. Okay. So sometime back, I think Lataji, she asked me about what the four parts of the mind were. So the mind, even when you say mind in English, it's kind of, we think it's in the brain. No, actually the mind is distributed throughout the body. The body has a rich store of feelings. So when sometimes you feel these goosebumps in your stomach, and when you see an unpleasant person, sometimes your stomach cringes. Somebody you don't like, all these are because the body stores a lot of feelings. So manas is memory and feelings distributed throughout the body. Sometimes we also recollect when we see something. Sometimes our knees feel weak because we would have experienced an unpleasant situation some time back, or sometimes when you see tasty, when you're reminded of something, you kind of relive a taste in your mouth. So it's all the manas. Then the buddhi is the intellect. So we'll soon see an example of a charioteer. Intellect is the one which says, do this, do that, this is good, this is bad, don't do this. Then ahankara, that's the one which gives a sense of I. Who this I, which we usually identify with the body, that is the ahankara. And then the fourth part is the chitta. So the chitta, it refers to this movie theater on the screen. And it's where constantly images and sounds are played. The chitta is the link to the consciousness. That is why it's called the closest thing to the consciousness. Chit iva bhavayati iti chittam. It acts as though it is the consciousness, but it is not the consciousness. It is like it's just like a movie theater. So from the light from the theater, right, with all the images, it falls on the screen and it reflects, but we get identified with the screen. So this mind, it's an inert screen like that. But because of this consciousness, all these movie characters, everything gets played here, and we start getting identified with that. So that is the chitta. Okay, there's an article here if you want to read. Tasmat tvam indriyan yadau niyamya bharatarshaba papmanam prajahikyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, Bhagavan says, "O best among the Bharatas, Bharata Rishabha," we saw that word, right? It's bull among men. Rishabha is bull. It's like a symbol of strength. "O best among the Bharatas, at the outset, controlling the senses, give up the sinner." Okay? Tasmat, therefore, tvam, you, indriyani, adau, adi means in the beginning, before, in the very outs, at the very outset, indriyani, niyamya, restraining the senses, papmanam prajahi. Papmanam means the sinner, this lust. Prajahi means give up. Enam this, jnana vijnana nashanam, because it destroys the jnana and vijnana. So what is jnana and vijnana? So jnana is knowledge, common knowledge of righteous things. And then Bhagavan introduces a special term, vijnana. We'll see that in the 7th chapter. It's called jnana vijnana yoga. Jnana refers to all common knowledge. Vijnana, vi here means special. Vijnana means it's a special knowledge. What is that knowledge? The knowledge of the Atma. Okay. So, therefore, O best among the Bharatas, at the outset, controlling the senses, give up the sinner, because this is the destroyer of the jnana and vijnana, ordinary knowledge and knowledge of the Atma. Okay. Okay. Now we can see the story. So, because of the lust, that's exactly what happened to Duryodhana, and even his father Dhritarashtra did not stop him because he was over attached to Duryodhana. So, in this 3 parva, it's full of anger, people just cursing each other left, right, center. The most famous of the curses here is Gandhari, the mother of the 101 Kauravas, cursing Krishna. And in this same parva, Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, curses his own. He doesn't curse his mother, but he places a curse on the women because his mother withheld the fact that Karna, who was killed by Arjuna, was their elder brother. So sage Durvasa gives Kunti a boon, that because she served him, she attended to, we gave food, attended to his needs, all that. And Durvasa, normally a very angry sage, he was very pleased with this teenage girl. So he gives her a boon that she will have uh, divine children, and whichever god she prays to, she will have children with the strength of that God, blessed by that God. So Kunti, at first, she was curious child, right? So like teenage girl, she said, okay, I will pray to Surya, the sun god. And she was immediately a child. A child was born, and she didn't know what to do with the child. So she was afraid what her parents would say. So she put it in a basket and let it float in a river. And that's how, and somebody else finds a child and he grows up to be Karna. But Karna was killed. So Yudhishthira was very angry with his mother. He says, from now on, because you withheld this secret from us, from now on, I place a curse on women that they cannot withhold a secret. So this is just a story. So that is Yudhishthira. Now we'll come to the most famous of all these curses. End of Krishna Avatara. So it says, Vaishampayana, who's the narrator of Mahabharata, he says, and he narrates it to Janamejaya. We saw that in the first class. Vaishampayana is narrating to Janamejaya, the king. Having said these words, Gandhari, the mother of the 101 Kauravas, deprived of her senses by grief, fell down on the earth. Casting off her fortitude, she suffered, her senses stupefied by grief. Then, filled with wrath and with sorrow at the death of her sons, Gandhari, with agitated heart, ascribed every fault to Keshava. Keshava is Krishna. Then she curses. See in this picture, Gandhari said, the Pandavas and the Dhartarashtras, which is the sons of Dhritarashtra, are called Dhartarashtra. Just like son of Kunti is called Kaunteya. Who Krishna, they have both been burnt, Pandavas and the Dhartarashtras. While they were thus being exterminated, O Janardana, which again refers to Krishna, why were you so indifferent to them? Thou wert competent to prevent the slaughter, for thou hast a large number of followers and a vast force. Thou had the eloquence and thou had the power for bringing about the peace. Since deliberately, O slayer of Madhu, which is Madhusudana, remember we've used these terms, O Madhusudana, thou wert indifferent to this universal carnage. Therefore, O Mahabaho, mighty armed one, we've seen that word too. She's referring to Krishna. Thou should reap the fruits of this act. By this little merit, this tapo balam, she has gotten the power of tapas, I have acquired through waiting dutifully on my husband. By that merit, so difficult to attain, I shall curse thee, O wielder of the discus and the mace. Krishna wields a mace and a discus. He's the avatar of Vishnu, right? And what is she saying? I have gained this tapas by serving on her husband. So her husband was born blind. I'll tell that story why he was born blind another time. So she decided, if my husband is blind, I will also cover my eyes and I will serve my husband. So by this thing, her senses became very sharp. And because of she was such a virtuous woman, Gandhari, the mother of the 101 Kauravas, she gained enormous power. And with that power, she was able to pronounce a curse on Bhagavan himself. Then Krishna receives Gandhari's curse with grace. Since thou were indifferent to the Kurus and Pandavas, while they slew each other, O Govinda, which refers to Krishna, thou shalt be slayer of thy own kinsmen. In the 36th year from this, O Madhusudana, O slayer of Madhu, thou shalt, after causing the slaughter of thy kinsmen and friends and sons, perish by disgusting means in the wilderness. The ladies of thy race, deprived of son, kinsmen, and friends, shall weep and cry even as these ladies of the Bharata race. Then Vaishampayana continued, hearing these words, the high-souled Vasudeva, Krishna, addressing the venerable Gandhari, said unto her these words with a faint smile. There is none in the world save myself that is capable of exterminating the Vrishnis. This is the clan that Krishna belongs to, Vrishni clan. Varshnaya, that's why he's called Varshnaya. I know this well. I am endeavoring to bring it about. In uttering this curse, O thou of excellent vows, thou hast aided me in the accomplishment of the task. The Vrishnis are incapable of being slain by others, be they be human beings or gods or Danavas, which is demons. The Yadavas, which again refers to the Vrishnis, shall fall by one another's hand. And he of uh, Dasharatha's race had said these, um, Dasharha's race had said these words. The Pandavas became stupefied. They were scared. Krishna, our savior, is going to die. Filled with anxiety, all of them became hopeless of life. And then what happens? So it all starts this way. Vishwamitra is known to be an angry sage, right? One day he was visiting the Vrishni, their kingdom, and Samba, one of Krishna's son, a very naughty son, he dresses up as a woman with his friends. So, and he puts a rock in his tummy and appears pregnant. Then they go to Vishwamitra and ask, "What is the? Can you please tell us the gender of this child?" Of course, Vishwamitra, being a rishi, a yogi, he could see through all that. Then he pronounces a curse on Samba and he says, and all these people, he said, you're treating a rishi in such a despicable fashion. This stone will be the cause of all of your death. And so then what they do, they break the stone into pieces and they dissolve it in the water. But this the and the banks of the river, there grows this erka grass that absorbs all this stone, and it becomes very sharp and strong. We'll come to that. Now, what's happening in the Vrishnis? One day they all got drunk. Then Satyaki, who um, is in the Pandava camp, he accuses Kritavarma, who's in the Kaurava side, for slaying the Pandava sons in their sleep. Then a fight erupts. They didn't have weapons because all the weapons were kind of banished because they knew they were cursed. So they were very careful not to have weapons. But somebody pulls this erka grass and it's sharp like an arrow. So they use it to hurt others, and everybody starts plucking the erka grass and they use it as weapons against one another. And the entire Vrishni clan, all the men are destroyed. Krishna sees all this. Then he goes to Balarama. So Balarama is an incarnation of Adishesha, Vishnu's celestial 1,000-headed serpent. Remember the words in the Ashtanga Yoga chant, Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim. So 1,000-headed Naga. And at that point, Balarama is about to give up his life. So he sits in meditation, and from his mouth comes a snake, a white serpent, and becomes big with 1,000 heads, and it goes into the river and disappears, or into the ocean and disappears. And then Krishna goes and sits under a tree in the forest. And he's dark, right? Krishna is like dark bluish tint, and he puts his feet out, and a hunter by the name Jara mistakes his feet for the snout of a deer. and he shoots an arrow at his feet. And this hunter was none other than Vali in his previous birth. Remember how Rama killed Vali as an ambush in his previous avatar? He killed him in an ambush. So karma even affects gods when they take a human form. So then Vali takes birth as Jara and kills Krishna. And Jara comes and apologizes to Krishna, tell me how I can save you. And Krishna says, no, my time has come, and he departs. So this is all the drama that happens because of the anger and lust. Okay. Now comes a very, very important shloka. So I had told you before, right? I'll ask this question. Is there anything original in the Bhagavad Gita? Can anybody answer? Is this Krishna's teaching? Is the Bhagavad Gita Krishna's teaching? Can somebody answer? Jayalakshmi? You
Yeah,
probably.
no, it's not. It's from Upanishads and stuff that he has taken
Yes.
all these teachings from. Yeah.
Yes. So there is zero. Krishna's Upanishads predate the Bhagavad Gita, and we're going to see the next chapter. Bhagavan says, Evam parampara praptim imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. I had taught this long ago, but due to the passage of time, this yoga, this knowledge has been lost. So Krishna's favorite Upanishad is the Kathopanishad, the dialogue between an 8-year-old boy and death, Yama. So here in that, um, I'll first quote the Bhagavad Gita and we'll see how similar it is to the Kathopanishad. Indriyani paran yahuhu Indriyepya param manaha manasastu para buddhihi yo buddhe paratastu saha. It is said that the senses are superior to what? To the body. And superior than the senses is the manas, the seat of the feelings and memories. Even more superior than the manas is the intellect. And finally, even more superior than the intellect is that saha. What is that? The atma that is there. Okay. So the example is that of the chariot in the Kathopanishad. So the lord of the chariot is, we'll see, it's compared to the atma. So in the Kathopanishad, it says, it's called the parable of the chariot. Atmanam ratinam vitti shariram ratamevatu buddhim tu saratim vitti mana pragraham evacha indriyani hayan ahuhu Vishayansteshu gocharan Atmendriya mano yuktam Bhoktat ahur manishinaha. So here Yama tells Nachiketa, this body is the chariot. Atmanam Ratinam Vidhi. Body is, Shariram Ratamevatu. The body is the chariot. Atmanam Ratinam Vidhi. The owner of the chariot is this Atma. Buddhim to Sarathim Vidhi. The Buddhi is the driver. Sarathi is the driver. That's why Krishna is called Partha Sarathi, the charioteer of Partha. The mind is the reins. Mana pragraham evacha, reins used to control the horses. Then indriyani hayan, haya, that's hayagriva, remember? That's horse. The senses are like horse. They can go wildly run here thither. Vishayan teshu gocharan. So Gocharan means the path. Vishayan, all the sense objects are like the path for this chariot. If the horses see some nice grass, they'll start running in that direction. So it's like that sense objects. Atmendriya manoyuktam bhokta ahu manishinaha. The Atma uses the indriyas and all the other things as a means to experience the world. That is how these great sages describe all this. So, what all do we have? We have Atma, the lord of the chariot, the body, which is the chariot. The buddhi is like the charioteer. The charioteer steers the horses if they're going asunder, away here and thither. The mind is like the reins used to control the horses. Mind is the one which can check. The senses are like the horses, they can run crazy. The sense objects are like the road. Okay, so it's a very, very important shloka. I should have put a star there. Okay, continuing. Evam bhutte param bhutva samstabhyatmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabhaho kamarupam durasadam. Thus, knowing that, that refers to the Atma, which is superior to the intellect and making the mind steady with the self. Okay, here self refers to the entire mind body complex. We'll come to that in a minute. Conquer the enemy, O mighty armed. What is the enemy? In the form of lust, which is very elusive. So, evam, thus, buddhe param buddhva. Buddhva means knowing that which is buddhe param, which is superior to the intellect. So, what is superior to the intellect? It is the Atma, knowing the Atma, which is superior to the intellect. Samstabhya Atmanam Atmana. So you will see in the 6th chapter, you will see this Atmanam Atmana Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtati. By the self, the Atma. So Samstabhya Atmanam Atmana, making the here Atmana refers to the mind. Atmanam refers to the mind, body, senses, everything. Use the mind, body, senses, all this intellect to control the mind. And Jahi Shatrum, Shatru is your enemy. Jahi means conquer the enemy. Mahabaho Kama Rupam Duras Asadam. This is in the form of lust. It is very elusive. Okay. So, as I said, Atma can mean many things based on the context. It just means the self. So, Atma can mean the Purusha. It can mean the self with a lowercase s, which is the mind, body, and the sense. It can also be in the mind. So, here, Atmanam Samstabhe means studying the mind using the mind body complex. Okay. And that brings us to the end of the 3rd chapter. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhadhe Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyodhyaya. Om Tat Sat. In this glorious Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishad, the knowledge of the Brahman, the all-pervading consciousness, Yoga Shastra, authoritative text on yoga, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, the dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna, Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyo Dhyayaha. Thus ends the 3rd chapter titled Karma Yoga. Okay. Now we should we'll do the chanting at the end. We should go to the points to ponder. Were you able?
One second.
Okay, so I will just go ahead here. So this is how the be prepared for question number 2. I'm going to come to you. How it all started. So it all started with Arjuna's surrender in the 2nd chapter, right? So I'm just trying to build continuity. Arjuna totally surrenders. Karpanya doshopahata swabhavaha pruchami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yachreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. Please accept me as your disciple, is what Krishna tells. So I have to mute somebody's. Okay, Krishna says, Arjuna says, accept me as your disciple. And at that point, the lessons start. Then Bhagavan talks about the highest knowledge, the Atma, which is the consciousness, which is not a part, product, or property of the body. It is independent and it is eternal. That is the true I. When you say I, it is that. The rest is all inert. It's like wearing a cloth. The cloth can get dirty and one day we have to throw it off and it just disintegrates. The body is just like that. The Atma is the true I behind this body, and that is, it is eternal. It is the consciousness. And then Arjuna doesn't understand. Then Bhagavan switches topics to karma yoga, and there he talks about the actions to purify the mind, because to understand this knowledge, the mind has to be calm. So Bhagavan talks about actions. Then Arjuna, it gets interested and he asks, okay, how is this person, he calls this person sthita prajna, one of steady wisdom, steady knowledge, steady mind. How does that person walk? How does he talk? How does he behave? Then the Bhagavan talks about the characteristics of a sthita prajna. So that's what in the second chapter. Then in the 3rd chapter, Bhagavan, Arjuna first starts with a question. So Arjuna's intention is to escape from the battlefield, right? Every opportunity he wants to escape from the battlefield, not out of fear, but out of guilt of needing to kill his own grandfather and his teacher. So then Bhagavan, so he asks Bhagavan, you are telling that karma yoga is great. So you're telling jnana yoga is the most superior thing, but you're asking me to do actions, and that is the 2 lifestyles. Then Bhagavan talks about your lifestyle of karma yoga, lifestyle of jnana yoga. Both are good. Then detailed description of karma yoga. Then he talks about the duties of a wise person. Even if you're enlightened, you have to do duty for the sake of the world, your society. Then he summarizes the significance of karma yoga, and then finally why people commit sin. So it's good to always know how a chapter is divided so that there is a flow of thought through that. Okay, so we saw what is called a bija shloka. This chapter started with a seed from the last chapter. So bija shlokas are 2 shlokas which prompted Arjuna to ask this question. Can anybody tell me what the bija shlokas are? Ravi? Okay, yeah. Anuji, can you read out the shlokas? Okay, or I can do that. So the bija shlokas, the first one, धूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणा फलहेतवः. He says, action, dhurena hyavaram karma buddhi yogat. So Krishna says mere actions is far inferior compared to yoga done with a right understanding. Buddhi yoga means the yoga done with the right attitude. And he grabs onto this. Then we'll see what he's going to say. And what the other shloka is, Bhagavan starts with the glory of wisdom, and he ends the second chapter with the glory of knowledge. Esha brahmistite partha nainam prapya vimuhyati titvastyam antakalepi brahmanirvanam richati. This knowledge, it takes you to the state of Brahman, having attained which one is not deluded anymore. Because of this knowledge, one is not deluded. Being established in this state, one attains the liberation into Brahman, even at the time of death, right away. So that is what Bhagavan says. Okay. Now, third question. What is Arjuna's confusion due to his filtered listening? Anybody?
I think he's confused between karma yoga and jnana yoga. He thinks initially Krishna says knowledge alone liberates, and then he says do karma. I think he's confused between these two.
Yes. So, can you mute your mic? Krishna, he's confused because he thinks Krishna is saying a conflicting statement. Knowledge alone liberates, therefore do karma. But what he doesn't understand is, we saw this, so it's like a school, right? Moksha, liberation, is like graduation from school. School has elementary school. Let's combine elementary and middle school into one portion, then the high school. So elementary school is the preparation for high school. That's like that karma yoga, all the meditation, everything is preparing the mind for receiving the knowledge. That is jnana yoga, which is high school. It is only from high school you graduate. It's always from jnana yoga you get moksha. Without jnana yoga, you cannot get moksha. This Arjuna doesn't understand. He says, you're saying knowledge alone liberates, but you're asking me to do karma. Why is that? He's asking. So that is called filtered listening. Then, is jnana yoga superior to karma yoga? Anybody? Yes, Jayalakshmi.
Yeah, both of them are needed.
Yes.
One is, and the karma is like elementary, and then it moves to jnana after you complete. So both are necessary.
Yes. So it's like a school. One cannot say elementary school is not needed. Without that, one cannot do anything. So both are needed. That's why it's so important to do all the meditation, all this practices to get the stillness of the mind to receive the knowledge. This is a very important aspect that is emphasized. Some people say, oh, just by doing asana practice, I can get liberation. No, that doesn't work. And what are the two lifestyles defined by Krishna? Anybody?
This is sannyasi and the normal lifestyle of a person.
Yeah, and the normal lifestyle is called grihastha, or householder lifestyle. Okay.
Householder.
Yeah. So the two lifestyles, jnana yoga for the sannyasis. So we saw that sannyasis are people who have renounced all the duties. They have like very bare minimum, and they just have to do a little bit of action. As householders predominantly have to take care of kids, earn money. There are their path is karma yoga, more actions for self-purification. So both, and Krishna says both lead to liberation. It's not like one or the other. Each path leads to liberation. That's the most important thing. You don't have to become a sannyasi. This is the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, as I've said many, many times, this is the book for the common man. It just mocks at all these godmen, these people who go sit somewhere and say they are godmen. It mocks at all of them. And it says the common man can get liberation here and now. Iha eva, Krishna says. So that is the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. Very clearly, it's once the simple thing you understand, just this fact that you are not the body, you are the Atma. There's something behind this consciousness. And when you understand that well, you get liberation, or your troubles will decrease 1,000 times. That is the biggest benefit of the Bhagavad Gita. Then so initially Bhagavan talks about the two paths, right? Give a one-line summary of the shlokas on 1 through 7. Can anybody do that?
Yeah, he says the householder performing karma yoga is far superior to a fake sannyasi or an immature sannyasi.
Yes. So this is the important point. A lot of people, they become this god men so that they have a huge following. They get money pours. For some of them, money pours in. And it's there through in all religions. So these god men, they claim they're god men, all these things. But when they keep thinking of worldly objects, nice cars, all this Rolls Royce, all this stuff, they are far inferior. So a householder performing karma yoga is far superior to Krishna calls them a hypocrite. Mityachara sa uchyate. So yastvindriyani manasa niyamyara bhaterchuna. So and indriyani, so one who's withdrawn the mind, but who's withdrawn the senses, but thinks about those objects. Mityachara sa uchyate. That person is called a plain hypocrite. So Bhagavan says that karmendriyani samyamya aste manasasmaran indriyartan vimudatma mityachara sa uchyate. This person who restraining the organs of action but dwells on the sense objects is deluded and is a hypocrite. So the Bhagavad Gita, that way, it glorifies the common person's lifestyle. Why did Krishna think that Arjuna was not suited for renunciation, even though Arjuna wanted to flee the battlefield and become a sannyasi? Anybody?
Can I read it from your answer?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just gonna. Well, it's right there, right? Because he
ahead,
didn't
read.
have mental stability yet to be able to assimilate the knowledge.
Correct. So that's the important thing. So the mentals, that's why you do all these purifications, meditation, everything. So Krishna knew that he did not have this mental stability, which is why he was blinking when Krishna started talking about Atma, the 11th through 25 verses. He was like a deer staring into the headlights of a car. He had no clue. That's why Krishna changes gear and talks about karma yoga, all this. And then he gets interest because he's a person of action. What, according to Krishna, is the secret to doing karma, actions, so that the karma phala, or the fruits of actions, do not cling to one? Remember, the karma phala is what causes rebirth, suffering, all that. It can be a good birth or a bad birth, but still it is a birth. Every time you come to your birth, there's a chance of doing a mistake that will cause you to suffer more. So what is the secret that Krishna gives to prevent the karma phalas from clinging to somebody? Anybody?
Don't worry about the fruit of the action.
Yeah, that is right. But he gives a specific shloka. In that shloka, he says, do the actions in the world, actions done for any reason other than yajna are bound by karma. Yajna tat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. When you're doing selfish actions, it will cause it'll cause it'll result in fruits. Even if you have a desire, you do it as a worship yajna. We'll see that in the next question. When you do it as a yajna, it won't cause the fruits to cling to you. Now, how do you define the term yajna? Anybody? Anybody wants to tell?
Selfless actions, right? Yeah.
The word yajna comes from yaj, which means worship. An action done as a worship to fulfill one's desires or just purify the mind, but always aimed at the welfare of the world, not just for selfish, but for a bigger cause. That is called a yajna. This is where it differs from a yoga. Yoga is also done for only for mental purification. But yajna, sometimes you want to get a desire. I want to become wealthy. I want to do very well in my studies. So you have a desire. That desire will be fulfilled. At the same time, no fruits will cling to you when you do it as a yajna with a bigger picture, the welfare of the world in mind. That is Krishna's definition. Then, why did Krishna tell about the duties of a jnani, a wise person? Anybody? Why did Krishna tell Arjuna about Arjuna did not ask about the duties of a wise person. Krishna preemptively tells that because Arjuna wants to find loopholes to escape, right? He may say, I am already a wise person. I've studied so much Vedas. I don't want to fight the war. So Krishna preemptively tells him about his duties, and he was like a superstar. It's a role model stature, right? And so he says, if people will follow what you are doing, because humans follow the herd mentality, right? And if you vacate your post and you flee, all the people governing the kingdoms, they're going to do the same. So it will cause destruction of the entire world. So your duty is to be a role model. Then, when an action is being done by a person, who or what entity is actually doing the action? Is it the consciousness principle called the Atma, which is doing the action, or is it something else? Can somebody tell the answer to this question? Anybody?
The
Anjana?
guna, the
Huh?
sattva rajas and the sattva rajas and the tamo gunas.
Yes. Prakrite kriyamani gunai karmani sarpashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. It's a very important shloka. Atma does not do any action. We will see that more elaborately in the 5th chapter. Atma, we've already seen this many, many times. It is like the electricity, just blesses. Because of the nature of a light bulb, it produces light. Because of the nature of a fan, it produces air, wind, air. It just blesses. It provides the energy, the consciousness. But the gunas of the Prakriti, that is the one which makes a person do actions. We saw the example, right? It's like a mirror reflecting light, right? The mind is like a mirror reflecting light. The mind is very dirty. The light reflected is a certain color. So like red dirt on this from like a dirt road, then it's red light, and that can create something. So these are the gunas, all these compositions that is there in this mind body complex. Atma just provides the light. If the mirror is pure, it is beautiful light. The mirror is dirty, you get the light which is not great. Okay, so very important shloka, very, very important. So Atma never causes, and that is the true nature of a person. The rest is all cloth. So even when we die, it's a sukshma shariram we are taking from one body to another. It is like a cloth, which has all the different things. We changed, we embroider all that. That is what you're wearing. Eventually, the person is different from the cloth. Like that, Atma is different from the body and the sukshma shariram. They're all inert. Atma is the only conscious thing. Okay. Then, yes, Ravi.
I think somewhere during the last class, I think we discussed there is some external force that drives people's actions. Can that external force be thought of as these gunas?
No,
or
that was very clearly. Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya bhaladiva niyojitaha. Atha kena prayuktoyam. What is the strong external force that is pushing one? Then Bhagavan says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha. It is the lust and the anger. These are the forces which is pushing somebody to do sin, even though they know it is bad. We saw the example of Duryodhana. You should not confuse it with Atma. No, 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 no. That's a big no. Atma is pure. It has no qualities. We saw that 5. Remember, that's why I keep telling 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters are the entire Bhagavad Gita. You have to revise chapter 2. 5 qualities. Aprameyaha. It cannot be cognized. Anything in the world that you cognize, it belongs to Prakriti. It is not the Atma. It is not the Brahma. Atma and Brahman are the same. Atma in the context of the body is Atma. In the context of the universe, it's called Brahman. It's like electricity. Electricity flowing through a bulb is something. Then in the grid, just call it the electricity in the grid, like that. So it is eternal. It has no properties. It doesn't change. Nirvikaraha. We saw all that. So Atma is very pure, Shuchi. Then Bhagavan discusses Swadharma. This is discussed throughout the Gita. Krishna says in very strong words that one should follow one's nature, bound duty, however imperfect it may seem initially. Name 2 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita which talk about this. Can anybody tell the 2 shlokas on Swadharma? Jayalakshmi or Anjana? Yeah, we saw 1 in this chapter. Shreyan swadharmo bigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayabaha. It is far better to do one's bounden duty, even if it's tainted with defects, than to do the prescribed duty of another, even if well executed. Because he says, death while discharging one's bounden duty is far superior to doing somebody else's duty, because it is fraught with fear, danger. In the 18th chapter also, he says, all these endeavors are veiled by some kind of imperfection. Just because initially you have some difficulty, don't abandon that. Again, he gives the example of fire covered in smoke. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi natyajet sarvaramba hidoshena dhumenagnir ivavritaha. Okay. What, according to Krishna, compels a person to commit sin? We just saw that lust and anger. Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha. Born of rajas, the three gunas. Sattva, rajas is passion, born of passion. Rajo guna samudbhavaha. Mahashano mahapapma viddena miha vairinam. Then the last question, can somebody tell me in the chariot example what the different analogies are? Somebody? Can you do that? Melissa, you want to do that? Chariot analogy? You can click on the link and...
I'm working on it.
Okay, no problem.
Let's see.
Or I pulled it up here.
Okay, that would help. What was the question?
Question is, in the chariot example, what are the different analogies? What corresponds to what? Can you just read it? It's all here. You
Based
can-
on this photo.
Yeah.
It looks like Atma is the self, the lord of the chariot. The body is the chariot.
Yeah,
The booty is the intellect, and that's the charioteer. The mind reigns. The horses are the senses, and the road is the sense objects.
yeah. So this is a very important example in the Bhagavad Gita. So to show the analogies, different things.